On va aller rejoindre Elliotte. Elliotte, what's going on, my friend?
Les Québécois parlent trop vite pour moi. I couldn't pick all that up.
But you know what? Today we have a chance to practice our English with you. Thank you so much for taking the time this afternoon and spend a few minutes with us today.
I'll tell you this, your English will sound a lot better than mine. I guarantee you that too. They always joke I can't speak either language. But I'm happy to be here, and good luck, guys.
Actually, your French was awesome. That's pretty good. Impressive. You just texted me a few moments ago. We were talking today. Renault came up with the fact that we might be signing Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton soon. But on your side, you're saying a few teams were interested in signing Gorton?
Yeah, you know, I mean, obviously a lot of talk about the free agents in the NHL is about the likes of will Connor McDavid sign and will Kirill Kaprizov sign. But on the executive side, I think there's a few teams wondering what was going to happen in Montreal. I think there's been about 3 times over the last 3 years, at least, where Jeff Molson's been asked, can we talk to Jeff Gorton? We'd like to talk to Jeff Gorton, and we'd like to see if he'd be interested in our job. And I think the most recent one was the Islanders last year. And every time Jeff Molson denied permission, and when someone denies permission like that, that means he has plans. You don't deny permission if you're not trying to keep somebody. So, you know, the people around the league, Jeff Gorton, he did a good job in Boston. He did a good job in the Rangers. And now people see what he's done in Montreal. He's a hot commodity. People want him. And I think Jeff Molson has sent a message that he's not available, and we're going to try to take care of him. That's going to be one expensive front office if he gets those extensions done between Hughes and Gorton. But I do think quietly that is one of the free agent stories that people have been watching. Will Jeff Gorton extend in Montreal, or will there be a chance that somewhere down the road other organizations will be able to talk to him? So Jeff Molson, I'm not surprised he would want to cut that off before it starts.
Is his reputation around the league that he's just a good guy to rebuild the team, or is just the respect he's built towards during the years?
You know what I think it is, Maxim? Like, you know, you guys know, if you're going to be a great player in this league, you cannot panic in the big moments. And I think that that's one thing that Gorton has really well for him, is he doesn't panic. He's calm. He's prepared to say, this is my plan, and I'm going to lay out a plan. And, you know, you can't always do what we want to do. Things happen in life. You have to change. But generally, if you look at everything he's done, he's stuck to his plan, and he's never panicked in his plan. Like, you guys look at Montreal, he had a plan. I've heard it's very noisy media-wise in Montreal. Not everybody is patient. Not everybody wants it to go slow. But he never, and he and Kent Hughes, they never wavered from their plan. And it looks like it has a chance to be an outstanding plan. And I think that's the thing. Like, he's been in Boston, he's been in New York, he's been in Montreal. Nothing's like Montreal. Like, Montreal is intense. But Boston's a big market. New York's a big market. He's never wavered from what he believes he's right. And also, guys, like, he looks like he really can identify what is a good player and what isn't.
What do you hear about, like, we're talking about extension on we can say on the second floor now. If we go back on the ice, we have a guy named Lane Hutson here in Montreal who's going to be restricted at the end of the year. He can't start to negotiate his contract. What do you hear from that front? It's still not done. Is that something, because are we basing ourselves on what's going to happen with Luke Hughes in New Jersey? There's a couple still RFAs that haven't signed. So what can we read between the lines around this situation?
Well, I think one of the things is that I do think the Canadians kind of wanted to turn down the noise on that. Like, you know, I mean, you guys know the way Kent Hughes operates. He likes to operate a bit in secrecy and then come out with the big news, right? Like, he likes to get us by surprise. And I do, like, there were times this summer, I know, where the Lane Hutson contract talks were really out there and everybody was focusing on it. And I think the Canadians wanted to turn down the noise. I don't think anyone should panic if this is not done soon. Like, there's no reason to believe that Lane Hutson doesn't want to be a Montreal Canadian, isn't proud to be a big part of this team for a long time to come. We are just going through a phase now, guys, and we're seeing it with Kaprizov. Like, look what Kaprizov did last week. He said no to the biggest contract in the history of the National Hockey League, $128 million. And we'll see what that means. But I think we're seeing a situation where a lot of players are kind of resetting the market. The cap is about to go up. It's the highest it's ever been. It's going to be $113 million in 2 years. And one thing you guys know is that players are competitive on the ice and off the ice. Yeah. Like, they'll look and say, wait a sec, I can't believe that guy's making more money than me. It's not because they're greedy, it's because they're competitive. And I think Lane Hutson's contract is kind of in the middle of all that. I think if he would have been restricted 2 years ago, he's looking very differently at what his next deal is going to look like. And guys who get points, and Lane Hutson gets points, he gets paid. Those guys get paid. And I think what we're going to see here is if this doesn't get done, like if they go term, it's a big, big number. So I think there's two options here, three options. They can wait and see how this goes. They can do a short-term deal and do it later, or the Canadians can just say, you know what, we'll do it and we'll go for the big term and big number. And I just think earlier in the summer, they weren't on the same page in terms of what the long-term deal would be. And the Canadians simply said, let's tone down the noise and we'll revisit this in the future. I wouldn't be surprised, guys, if they're working at this and trying to keep it out of the public eye.
How do you think he will compare his contract to Dobson, though? An offensive defenseman that just signed with the Canadians, a new guy coming from another team. Hutson had a great season as a rookie. So you're talking about big numbers. Is he going to go far over Dobson, or do you think they can compare?
Well, I think, Max, I think honestly it depends on when he signs it. You know, I think right now, if you want to do, like, I could see a situation, and this is going to end badly for me, but, you know, you brought me on, I'm going to do it. Like, I could see a situation where Lane Hutson signs for more than Noah Dobson. Like, there is a way that you can, you guys tell me, like, do you think I'm wrong?
No.
Do you think I'm wrong in saying that?
That could make sense, yeah.
Yes, but I think if you're the Montreal Canadiens, you probably don't want to do that right now. So I think the biggest question is, do the Canadians want to go for term, or do they want to bridge him? And I think that tells us where he's going. I think the other thing now, too, guys, is like, you take a look at it, who's on your number one power play? Is it going to be Hutson, or is it going to be Dobson?
Yep.
Tough call.
Yeah, we had a conversation today earlier on that we, as former players, we wouldn't mind seeing both. So, you know, you've been around teams, you want to keep everybody happy. And you talking to Dobson, he's signed a new contract long term. You don't want to give him 30 seconds at the end of a second power play. So Marty St. Louis got a bit of a, not an issue, but a challenge how to deal with all these new weapons that he's got.
You know, it's true. Like, one of the last teams, I think, to do the two, like, there's not a lot of teams that do the 2D power play, but I think the Canadians did it when they had Weber, right? Because they would one time the shot. So it's not like you haven't seen it in Montreal a long time. Like, to me, that'll be interesting for Marty St. Louis, because right now everybody uses the 1D power play. The thing is also, too, like, and again, I don't know if the Canadians think like this, but I always wonder about this. There's Dobson. You know what, Noah? You're signed. You've got the money. We're happy with you. You're our guy. And then you could always say, hey, we need to throw some cookies to Hutson, maybe get him because he hasn't signed yet. Do it that way. There's all sorts of ways you can make. But the one thing I really do believe at the end of the day is these guys want to win. And I can't see this being too big a problem in terms of how it affects the players as a team. They're good. They have a chance to be great. I can't see this being a huge problem and throwing the team sideways.
You were talking about Kaprizov, and we touched it a little bit, but you think it's a window right now for the players to set a new ground for contracts? Like, do you think they talk to each other and think like it's time to raise the bar? Because there's been some bad, not some bad years, but with the lockout and all that, the contracts and the escrow, and is it time for the players to finally have their revenge, or is that the way they see it, do you think?
Well, you know, here's the thing, like, you know, you guys remember when there was no cap and basically, you know, players could go as high as they tried to get. the challenge with a cap system is every dollar a player takes, another player doesn't get that dollar, right? Yeah. So, like, I know that people talk about raising the bar, and raising the bar. It's a 50-50 thing. However, I do think now with the cap exploding and going to places where we've never seen it go before, I absolutely 100% believe that there are players and agents who want to push the line. Like, if McDavid goes to free agency, he's getting the max if he wants it, and nobody's going to complain about that. Yeah. But I do think this. Look, we've seen McDavid 12.5. We've seen McKinnon 12.6. We've seen Matthews 13.25. We've seen Draisaitl 14. I mean, players, guys, like they want to push the line. So I think the thing is right now is the interesting thing to me about Kaprizov is I think he turned down 16. What's the number? And does he want to play somewhere else? Or are people whispering to him, hey, we've got 19, 20 out there for you? But what I think it does, guys, is I don't think Eichel is looking to make 18, 17 million. But I do think he looks at, hey, like, I can go a little bit higher. And I think that I do believe that some of these guys are saying, hey, we're not going to make McDavid money, but we do want to push the bar. And I'll say this too. I think some teams are really hoping that Minnesota says, this is as far as we're going. We want to hold the line. We can't, this is a team game. Hockey's a true team game. You need 25 guys to win. Even with the cap going up, the higher the number goes, the harder it is. I think there are some teams out there rooting for Minnesota to hold the line. The one thing, though, I really do believe, guys, is that Kaprizov he's so valuable to the Wild. Like, people can sit there and say, hey, Kaprizov's not an $18 million player, whatever you want to pick. I think you could make an argument he's that valuable to Minnesota.
Well, Elliotte, is there where you think where we're going between the 18, eventually 20, 21 million bucks a year? Because if we're talking Kaprizov at 18, maybe eventually, where does McDavid, McKinnon, and Makar go from now? Because it'd be hard for him to sign, let's say, $18 million a year. But again, McDavid says he wants to win in Edmonton, and you mentioned now it becomes a bit of a problem because you have to pay everybody. Is there a message from the PA that we want to make a lot of money for our players, but at the same time, the players want to have a chance to win? So how do you manage both of them? Because you need to pay everybody else if you want to win and send the right message to your fan bases. Look, I want to win here, but if you're going to sign $20 million a year, you put everybody in trouble. It would be really hard to do so.
It would be harder. I think with McDavid in particular, he will sign if he signs in Edmonton, and I still do think he's going to sign in Edmonton. He's going to sign for less than he would on the open market. Like, Connor McDavid can't come out and say, hey, I want to win. That's why I'm not sure I'm signing in Edmonton yet, and then sign for a number that makes it impossible to win with what Draisaitl's making and what Nurse is making. So let's just say, for argument's sake, McDavid would sign for $20 million out there on the open market. If he wanted to, everybody would give it to him. I think the number here will be somewhere where they can still build a team. So I do think I completely agree with you 100%. I think McDavid will create a situation where even with what he signs for, he can still win. But I really do believe, yes, guys, that there are agents. I don't know if it's so much the PA, but I do think there are agents out there and there are players out there who are like, okay, the salary cap held the line for a few years. Now that it's going, we're going to push the line too. And that's why I think you've seen a whole bunch of guys who haven't. I think that's affected Mason McTavish's negotiation in Anaheim. I don't think that the Canucks. I don't think the Ducks want to do short term. I think they want to lock him in. And McTavish's representatives are saying, okay, well, if you want us for 6, 7, or 8 years, it's bigger. It's because of where we're going. And I think they've had trouble getting there. I think that's the same with Luke Hughes. I think that's been the same with a lot of these players where the cap is going. If you want term, you're going to have to go to places you haven't gone before.
So we're probably going to see a little more short-term deals that we've been seeing in the last few years then.
You know, Max, I really think that if you have a player you believe is a cornerstone guy, you lock him in for as long as you can.
Yeah.
Because the price never goes down.
Yeah, you're right.
Look at all the guys you guys played with. How many guys who were star cornerstone players you signed short term and then you ended up giving them a huge deal anyway?
Yeah.
Like, if you've got a stud, lock him in. The price doesn't go down.
No, you're right. You're right. You think? Do you think on McDavid's side though, it's about what he's gonna have to work with more than the money? Like I feel like he's waiting to see what the picture is gonna look like before he's signing.
Yeah, and I think the key is what he said. Like, I think we have a great chance to win the Stanley Cup this year. You know, the one thing about the Oilers is I do think they're an excellent team, but they're older, right? Like, yeah. And, you know, they traded for Savoy. He's going to get a chance to play this year. They traded for Isaac Howard. He's going to get a chance to play this year. But, you know, they lost Holloway and they lost Broberg last year. Like, those were guys in their mid-20s who could have been there for a long time. So, yes, I don't think this is about now. I think this is about 3 to 5 years from now. And I think he wants to know what the plan is and how it's going to stay that way. So, again, guys, I'll tell you this. So people in McDavid's circle are very quiet. He doesn't like a lot of information out there about him, and they really respect his privacy. But the one thing I have heard is, like, 2 losses in a row in the Stanley Cup final have made him even more insane about winning. Like, everything he does was already about winning. Now it's gotten 100 times crazier. And I think that's why we are where we are, because he's so mad they've lost twice in a row that now he's like, I'm not doing this again. I have to get there. And that's why he's making the decisions he's making. He's going to be a bear this year, like an absolute bear of a human being.
Hopefully for you guys who follow him around, like, hopefully they're off to a good start, so he's in a decent mood when he has to talk to you on late night. So. I got to tell you, when he sees me, he's never in a decent mood. I don't think that. And you're one of the good guys. That's amazing. Yeah. But I want to bring you about another superstar. There's a lot of rumor, obviously. You've talked about it, about Sidney Crosby. Obviously, here in Montreal, it's even bigger because you know, the way he grew up in Nova Scotia. The family was Canadian fans. The need for another centerman. We've seen him today. We've seen clips of him giving up the tickets, the season ticket holder, like they do every year in Pittsburgh. And then he's answering questions. He's like, looks like a guy that he's getting tired of answering the same question. What have you heard from your side around the Crosby situation?
Well, I think, first of all, I think he's incredibly loyal. His first choice is to be a Penguin forever. That's probably his first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth choice, to be perfectly honest. I think, honestly, you know, here's the thing. I think people around him, and Pat Brisson, his agent, who's excellent at what he does, is one of those guys. I think they have tried to say to him, you know, if the team keeps missing the playoffs, you've got to go somewhere else. And the thing is you're never going to take him from A to B at once. I think they've just tried to move the line. Like, the one thing last week, like you mentioned, I think he's getting really tired of answering the question. But last week at the media tour in Vegas, he was as calm and patient talking about it as I've ever seen it. So I think he's thought about it. I think he's considered it. I think it's something that was on his mind a little bit this summer. But it's going to happen on his terms. That's number one. This is purely his decision. Number two, he doesn't want anybody else knowing about it or talking about it. Like, this will be one of the most airtight stories if he ever says, I'm going somewhere. But you know what, guys? Like, I do believe that he's at least considered it. We'll see how the season goes. I don't see it happening before the Olympics, if it happens. And we'll see where the Penguins are the one team in the league this year that aren't talking about getting better. Like, they're the only team in the league this year that's talking about going 32nd. So, you know, but I'll say this, like, I know the Montreal speculation has exploded over the last little while. I don't think it's impossible. I do think that if he did agree to be traded, I think Montreal would be on a very short list of teams he'd be willing to consider. But I think that the Canadians know one thing, and that is if they start talking about it, that is bad news. Yeah. So they'll never say anything about it.
I just cannot imagine Sidney Crosby in Montreal. The poor guy could not even walk in the streets. There's no chance.
Well, he'd probably be a hermit the whole time he was there. Yeah. But, you know, I mean, you guys know the city so well. Like, okay, I don't want this to go crazy. But can you imagine, like, if he was traded to be the Canadians, the first time he skated out on the ice, what the building would be like there? It would be insane.
I think people would get off work just to go watch him practice. That's just, you know what it is. You're in Toronto. Like, people are crazy hockey here. Just the following, just what the city went through with Demidov's arrival last year.
Yes,
it was like a demigod. Like, everybody had T-shirts, and he haven't even skated yet. The Bell Center was full just for warm-up. For Crosby, it'd be just on another level. But, you know, that's why it's exciting to talk about it and to have your vision out of it, because you have so many contacts and you have a good read of the league. So
I think also too, like, watching Marchand last year, like, he was crushed to leave Boston, and then it turned out so well for him. I'm actually annoyed at myself for not. I should have asked Crosby about that last week at the tour, and I forgot. But I've got to think that when you see somebody else go through it, you probably sit there and say, you know what, like, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. I've done it a few times, Elliotte. It's not that bad.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, the different situations. Just want to say thank you very much. We appreciate it. We know how busy you are. You have a crazy schedule, and just to come here visit us on that French podcast. I think it's pretty cool. The fans, the people in the chat, they love it. They think it's great from you to just give us your time. So thank you so much.
Well, you guys are both always great to deal with, and you always try to pay it back, right? Like, I know that I can be really annoying when I come up to you in a dressing room and I got to ask you questions, and I always appreciate it, and I'm happy to do it. Like, without the great fans in Quebec, I don't have a job. Even though I write in the wrong language, without you guys, I don't have a job. So I'm glad to come on.
Thanks very much, and have a good season. Enjoy. Thank you.
You too, guys. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All the best.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right.